Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I have got the all-new Nike GT Cut 4. Honestly, this is one of the more fun reviews I've done. This is honestly like one of my favorite shoes to look at, just because of the absolute calamity that it is, and like all the interesting stuff that I get to look at with these. There's just so much interesting stuff to talk about, and lessons to be learned, and all this other stuff. And this is gonna be an interesting review. Just don't expect much positivity out of it, I'll tell you that. I mean, put it this way, there are a couple really, really cool things about these, like really cool, and nice. And then others, it's just solving problems that don't exist, and just don't even get me started. I can't wait to get to this card. Okay. So let's get into the uppers. I'll start with what I actually like about the uppers. There is a substantial amount of padding around the ankle collar and heel counter, and it does lock you in really, really nicely. Heel slippage on these things was really just mild. I mean, it really did not have much to speak of, which was nice. Then it is a two-piece tongue. Now, it's kind of a hybrid two-piece tongue because it is attached distally. Now, I don't love two-piece tongues in themselves, but it does provide a lot of lockdown. Now, what a two-piece tongue is that the tongue is integrated on one side and it's open on the other. So in these ones, it is just integrated on the medial side. Now that is going to give you a little more push-off power. And on the lateral side, it sucks in there. What I've found in these is that it just provides sometimes unbalanced containment. So you'll feel like you're coming out of the one side that's open and not the other. So for lockdown, they can be pretty good. On the Vapor Cage 4, people really like the lockdown on these, but there's that. The tongue in and of itself just has some serrated padding you can see here. And what that basically does is just dig into your foot. So that was a real experience. And then there is a ton of breathing channels through this upper, but the paneling, this fused upper paneling, right, this heat molded paneling, it is so heat trapping that even that you do get a little bit of air egress there, it doesn't matter. But this thing is just gonna be an absolute sweat factory. Now, the other thing about that is you look at, so on the two-piece tongue, the tongue comes up to these points in the ankle, but it's this paneled material, right? So it's that heat molded, that heat bonded material is pretty, stiff. And so it just digs right into your ankle. And on these, I would really be afraid of getting ski boot neuritis. What happens to some people, they'll tighten their ski boots too much and they'll end up pinching the nerves that come down, their sensory nerves on the front part of their ankle. And I could feel the same, because I've had it before, I could feel the same thing happening to me in these ones. But then if you loosen them up, then, because the shoe has so much dead space, because it is a drop-in, and they become a little bit more floppy, and there's just no way to get the shoe comfortable in the uppers. Same thing in the toe box. Bending and snapping does not stop. Even when, you break them in or you crease them, it just becomes a crease. And then there was also irritation along just different parts of the tongue. And then there was irritation along the two kind of bat wings here on the ankle collar here, like, right, where the opening of the ankle was. And so really no part of the uppers was comfortable in any way. Like I said, yeah, there was some breathing, I showed you the breathability test before, but really the discomfort I felt was so intense every time I had them on that I couldn't really pay attention to, like, okay, is this two-piece tongue like doing anything good? Okay, lockdowns, all right. Like, I wasn't even thinking that. I'm just thinking, just get me out of these things. Just because my ankle was just hurting so bad in these. And I've had a couple shoes like that. These ones really were, they were something else. And then, obviously you've got this pretty interesting glue job here from the uppers, right, connecting into the midsole and the outsole here. And it doesn't really do anything to me for containment, because the one thing I'll show you is it is like the rubber comes up really high for where it meets right here. And that is gonna really come back when we get into the fit section in terms of containment and in terms of lateral stability. So just remember that, how high up this comes. I know it looks cool, but in terms of its function, there's some real warnings that you need to heed before buying these. All right, beginning in the midsole teardown, before I even tear the shoe open, I'm gonna show you the card that comes with these, and it shows you all the unique and interesting technology in these. And the one thing it just shows me is that they put all these layers, all these different materials in the shoe, and yet they forgot to put a 30-cent piece of plastic in them. Like, open them up, there's still no shank. Yeah, there's this little piece, I'm guessing this is a Pebex plate under here. It's a super flexible stuff right here. But if you look on the card here, it's not labeled. And it doesn't even span the whole shoe, right? It kind of goes kind of in the middle of the Cushlon carrier here. And so if it doesn't span medial to lateral even, like what's it doing? Like on the GP Turbo in the tennis base, it's got the full length, it's, you know, it's flexible, but it's a lot of it, right? So it kind of just, it provides a little more stability because it spans the entire width of the midsole. This does not. And so like, what is going on here? Like there's so much in this. And the thing is it feels like the actual feeling underfoot is out of this world. It feels really nice and shock absorptive, like really accommodative, but it also has like a nice feeling of bounce. I mean, that's a hard thing to do, to feel really shock absorbing and really cushy, but also like a nice bouncy feeling. And these have it in spades. Underfoot, directly underfoot, I got no complaints. You got Cushlon on the bottom, and then a full-length parabolic Zoom Strobel, and then you've got a drop-in of Zoom X foam. Now the drop on these things is only 0.5 centimeters. It's 2.8 centimeters in the heel. I mean, this thing is high off the ground, and it's a drop-in. It's a super narrow-heeled shoe, and you've got nothing stabilizing this thing, especially right here. We'll talk about this soon, but it's just, you've got so many nice elements in here and they're almost working, but then it just is completely, it just falls apart, right? Like the whole is so far less than the sum of its parts. And so, all right, bounce height, really no surprise, 46 centimeters in the rear foot and the forefoot. Not a lot of difference because there's really no drop. It's same stuff in the rear foot and in the fore. I mean, there's no Cushlon, but the Zoom Strobel over the Cushlon. I mean, there's not much going on there. So I mean, it's more the Zoom X and the Zoom Strobel that's doing that. On the tensiometer, it does take 62 newtons to get this thing to 45 degrees. But then, I mean, you just break it in a little bit, right? Like these ones are now broken in, and I can just do this too. That is not something you want to be able to do with a shoe that's 2.8 centimeters off the ground. Now, if I go this way, as you can see, this shoe, when I first had these, they were pretty stiff because I mean, there's just so much foam on the outside of here and everything and a lot of material. But like right away, you can start just, you know, like every so often you'll just like, it'll just crumble under your hands in terms of torsional stability. They're not gonna be the worst thing in the world to start off with in terms of torsional because they're just stiff because there's just a lot of foam in the carrier here and a lot of gluing and everything. But like I said, we'll talk about the fit and how these things sit off the ground, especially with the outsole tread. That just really kind of falls apart really, really quick. So I will say that for certain foot, in terms of comfort, underfoot, they're gonna be, I mean, like I said, these definitely thread the needle in terms of shock absorption plus bounce. It's a 5 out of 5 for both of them, easy. And one of the best shoes I've ever put on in terms of just the feeling underfoot, right? Just that feeling of bounce, but also feel like, oh man, like I actually have some cushion under here. But because of just a few really minor oversights and things that really wouldn't cost that much money to put in the shoe versus what is in here, the shoe just completely breaks down. There's one more thing on the midsole. I wasn't gonna bring this up, but now I'm fired up and now I have to. It's got this RBRX stabilizer, it shows, and they said it's supposed to be like this rubberized insert along the metatarsal area to give more support in the forefoot. When I looked, it is such a thin little insert. It's basically just like rubbery Zoom X on the bottom. So it's, I mean, it actually feels a little bit snappy underfoot. It's kind of, but it's so thin, it's gonna break down. So in the beginning, you might feel like there's a little more snap. Honestly, I don't really see it doing anything side to side because it doesn't really, I mean, like the sides of the drop-in are so thin, but I could see it doing a little more for like pop off the ground. You're gonna feel like maybe a little bit more snap, but then as soon as you break it in, like over a day or two, it's just gonna it's gonna break down because it is so thin. So if you are looking out there and says, what's this RBRX stabilizer? It's just this very, very, very thin, like rubberized Zoom X looking insert on the bottom of the drop-in. But like I said, because the rails of the drop-in, the sides are so thin, I just don't really see it doing much for containment. Maybe in the beginning, a little bit for feelings of snap. All right, let's talk about the other thing I actually do really like on the GT Cut 4, and that is the rubber itself and the pattern itself. Like just rubber and pattern on these. I think that's a nice name for a company. But I really do like it. It's just a big wave that goes out the whole shoe. It's chunky rubber. It really grips nice underfoot, as well as on the grip test ramp, doesn't slip till 38 degrees, right? And that's just a comparative, right, between different shoes. Put it in the dust box just to compare dust pickup of the rubber compounds. And yeah, it does pick up dust, but a wipe down does fine. Basically the sides of the tread, like the valleys of the tread, pick up some of the dust, but in terms of grip test ramp, it doesn't slip then until 32 degrees. If you notice on the test, I am putting a weight in the shoe now on the grip test ramp because I'm introducing the dust. So now we're introducing a third body into there. So if it was just the shoe and the ramp, you wouldn't have to, because force of gravity, force of friction cancel each other out. But then when you have the dust there, you actually do need to have that weight there, that normal force in the mid part of the shoe. So that's why they are being weighted now. It doesn't really do anything to the first part of the test, but just to keep everything consistent, you know, across these tests, I'm just gonna weight them throughout the whole thing. That way everything stays consistent. But, you know, after dusting, 32 degrees, one of the better shoes out there and pretty consistent between it, right? It also doesn't feel really any different afterwards in terms of dust pickup. And so, yeah, it does pick up dust, but it handles it really, really well. And just the feeling underfoot, really nice. Kind of feels like that old Fresh Foam BBV2, just confident, enough grip, but it's not, you know, you don't feel like you're rolling over. I mean, you do feel like you're rolling over. That's for other reasons, but it's not because of the rubber. Now you put this thing on the belt sander for 30 seconds. These things did lose 0.6 grams, which I mean, it's not the worst out there, but it's one of them. And it's really hard to see because, you know, the translucent nature of the rubber. But right here on the back side, you know, on the back of the swoosh, this rubber completely flattened out on the lateral side, whereas on here, it's nice peaks. I'll try to get a good picture of it. But the reason for that is that had that much abnormal wear right there is because the shoe is so wobbly, it's uneven on the bottom. So it's gotten better now because, you know, I planed it off basically. So now it's actually pretty stable, but the shoe did just oscillate a lot on the ground. It's not a real flat to the ground shoe. And the angle of ascent, I mean, honestly, this shoe is getting a little bit beat up because I've just been moving in it. And you can start to see all the creasing already and everything because there's no shank, nothing holding it together. And I mean, this shoe has not been used a ton, right? And it's already just getting completely beaten up. Now these do have a little bit of a medial flange made out of rubber, and that's awesome. Like that's a nice little thought there, good push off power. But you look at the lateral side and here's what I'm talking about, all right? You get rubber that comes up to the lateral side, meets the uppers, and it looks like it makes this enormous flange. And when I saw these online, I said, oh my God, like these are gonna have a huge flange. That's pretty cool. And then look at how it's made and everything. And it's just, no, because like these shark teeth or whatever they are, they come up so high, so it's actually touching the ground. There is no flange. There's nothing stopping you from rolling. Like you'll stop, but you're already 3/4 of the way to an ankle sprain, right? I mean, actually you're not gonna stop because it's rolled rubber. So what am I talking about? So it looks like there's a flange, but there is none, right? I mean, they are, you know, there's nothing there. So yeah, in terms of yeah. So like I said, in terms of just pure traction, they're fine, but once again, small oversights completely destroy what is a nice material and a nice traction profile. All right, but getting into the fit of the GT Cut 4, woof. First of all, it's a drop-in, so you're gonna have dead space at the front and the back. So you only get 28.3 centimeters of usable space. Even though it feels like there's a ton of dead space up in the toes, good luck. Your toes, if you go down half size, which, I mean, I don't know how you're ever gonna go down half size in these, or a size, you're just gonna scrunch your toes up into that. So that's one thing. Now, number two, they've got a 16-degree inflare, so they are just swooped in like crazy. They only have 6.7 centimeters of heel width. They are super narrow in the heel, not just narrow up top. They are narrow down below too. They have 9 centimeters of metatarsal width. And honestly, they look like they're really wide in the metatarsal area when you take the drop-in out because the toe box is so narrow. It just relatively, and the heel is so narrow, it just relatively looks so wide. So you take it out here and it looks wide, right? It's not. This is just so narrow and this is so narrow. This looks super wide plus the inflare of it. In the toe box, you only have 8.8 centimeters, 2 millimeters of width. And then in the toe box, 40-degree toe box taper. So, I mean, you can just see right here, like it's tough. Now, 4-foot height, you get 5.3 centimeters. I can't believe for how much foam is in the 4-foot, you actually do get a decent amount of height in there. And that was interesting getting them on. I was like, wow, it actually is a little easier to get under these things. But then it just makes it bend, snap, and crease on you because it's not touching anything. Now, this last right here that I use, this is how I use to measure everything, and I have little markings on it to make sure. This last is meant for dress shoes, which means it's supposed to be kind of pointy, right? You know, it's not meant to be a performance shoe, so this is about as pointy as it gets. Now, usually a last is gonna be a little bit bigger than what you actually get on foot because it's meant to make the whole shoe, so the periphery of the shoe. So what's inside the shoe is just gonna be a hair smaller than the actual last. This size 11 last, right, can't fit in here to save its sole. I mean, obviously it's cut open at this point, but it just goes to show you, like, even a dress shoe last has a hard time fitting into there. And these dress shoe lasts usually are swimming in these, and that's just, like I said, nature of a drop-in, but these ones are just so narrow, so swooped in, so pointed. So if you are a narrow foot, I think you can just go true to size, and I think you might do okay. A medium, 2E, and a 4E, good luck. If you're a medium and if you want to go up a half size and have all that length to contend with, then try it. Whatever. If you're a 2E or a 4E, I honestly don't know how you wear these for the long term. I think anybody but a narrow foot, I mean a medium, if you want to try to break them in, if you really want to, go for it. I don't know. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but these are more of, like I said, it's a narrow fitting shoe. Plus, you're scrunching your toes in, like, how are you gonna get your toes into this? Right? I mean, like I said, I'm not a barefoot evangelist, right? But I mean, I'm calling the barefoot police on this one. This is another barefoot police one. All right, so in terms of a flat, neutral, or high arch, neutral, I mean, sure, I guess you could do neutral. A flat foot, they're gonna start breaking down in the arch. Like, I think if you're a non-pathologic flat foot, you might be all right. I mean, I think they're okay. I don't think they're great. I think you can get away with it. Ankle sprainers, no. I mean, not on any planet. Like I said, there's no flange. They're narrow. They swoop in. You're 3/4 the way to an ankle sprain. Like I said, for a shoe that looks like it could have something, no. Plantar fasciitis, the drop is so low, you're gonna put more pressure on the heel, but the wobbling in the back, the toggle in the back, all that micro motion is what's gonna destroy you. Achilles tendonitis, the drop plus the toggling, the micro motion in the back, right? All this that's gonna go on in the back, right? I mean, you know, yeah. Forefoot pain, I mean, in and of themselves, like I said, the cushion is okay, but then you don't have the shank, and then it's the arch pain. That's probably what they're best for, but I still wouldn't recommend them. You can't put an orthotic in there, or drop-in, so you can't put an orthotic in there. And even if you tried being that high off the ground, big toe arthritis, no, bend too easily, knee up and back pain, too wobbly. So I don't know who I would recommend these for. I think if you're a narrow foot, you want to put the time into breaking them in for a casual shoe underfoot, or just, you know, commit to mole skinning the underside of them in different areas to relieve hot spots. You want to learn how to do that, shoe customization book, description down below, discount code. You can do that, and I think you can start to get away with it. But in terms of performance, like in terms of using these, I would be petrified to recommend these to anybody. Just because I don't even think someone that has a flat, I meing even someone with a flat foot would be an ankle sprain risk in these. That's just my opinion. I know there's gonna be people in the comments say, I love that feeling. Okay, great, good for you. Go get them then. I hope you do wonderfully in these. It's just that from the foot doctor perspective, right? This is the Foot Doctor Zach channel. If you want to drop in, if you really, really want to drop in and you want, you know, the latest and greatest, why wouldn't you just get the 808, right? Like, why? You know, so that's kind of where I'm at, you know, with these. So yeah, you know, it's disappointing because they look so cool, and whoever designed the silhouette just knocked it out of the park. They look so interesting, look so cool. It's just that, you know, it's just what's on the inside is, you know, like I said, you can't judge a book by its cover, right? And that's why you can't just look at a shoe and say, this looks cool, or this looks slick, or yeah, like you read, oh, they must have put so much in this, they put a card in here. All this is telling me is, you know, this is a giraffe by committee, which is an elephant, or an elephant by committee, which is a giraffe, whatever. So sorry to burst your bubble, but I mean, you know, at least the GT Cut 3 Turbo is on sale now. So you want to check that out, make sure you click this link right here. If you want to buy that, make sure you check out the affiliate links down below, help keep the lights on here. Shoe customization book down below. Xenon Zen slides down below, and make sure you subscribe down below. See you in the next video.